Hi everyone, this is Sasha from Women's Fight News and of course Susie from Women's Fight News. How are we doing, Susie?
Yeah, good. I mean, it's been another great weekend of boxing.
Yeah, it's tiring though. I mean, I've just said to you, I do always moan that I'm tired. I love it. And I love there's just shows all over the place again, isn't there? But it's like obviously I was at the show yesterday, so my whole Sunday is spent obviously driving home, but then catching up on all of the fights that I've missed last night. So it's great. I love it. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's got boxing for you.
Well, that's it. So obviously yesterday in London, forgot where I was then. It was in Wembley Arena. I really like Wembley Arena, actually. It's one of my favourite ones, mainly because there's shopping around there, which is always a bonus, something to do before. But I really like it there. It's a big venue, but quite intimate at the same time. So it's definitely one of my favourites. And they had quite a few of the rows kind of blacked out, but it felt loud. It felt like a great atmosphere. And to me, it always feels like that mix of it's certainly not a small hall show, obviously, but it's not that massive arena. And right from the first fight, it was quite busy. So I definitely enjoyed it. And the first fight on, so the schedule changed.
Yeah.
That stressed me out because I turned up thinking I still had one fight to kind of like get my kit ready, get the tripod ready. And next thing, Gemma was announced, and I was like, no, I think you've got that wrong. But of course, well, Shannon Ryan and Gemma Rue. What did you think of this fight?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Sharon Ryan. I think I like her style. I like watching her style. And bear in mind, she's only been boxing since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But she has obviously got the kickboxing background. And when I was speaking to her, saying to her, in a debut, she looks so fast. And again, in this fight, she looked fast. And I was saying about her speed, and she said, but that's because of the kickboxing background.
Yeah.
It was like fast in and out kind of style she was doing there. So that's what they're trying to bring into a boxing. And I love her movement. I love how she moves so quick, in and out, very accurate.
Yeah.
And I just feel like she's one that's going to get better and better because, yeah, maybe I'd like to see a bit more. I'd like to see, again, there's me moaning about last week how fans are never happy, but I would like to see results from her, how accurate she was, and get maybe a knockdown, something like that. But I feel like it's there, and it's going to. That's how she's exciting to me.
She's very pleasing to the eye to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed watching her. Like you say, very fast. I loved her movement in and out, her defense, so accurate. The first 2 rounds, the pace was unbelievable. Now it did slow down in round 3 and 4, and I think when she goes up to round 6 and round 8, she's going to have to balance the pace out a little bit more because I think it would be a huge ask to maintain that pace for more than a couple of rounds. But I think that's the learning process because she did slow down in 3 and 4. Not that she gassed out, but I'm sure it was some, she didn't need to exert that much energy, I suppose. But just thoroughly enjoyed watching her. Like, she is definitely one that is very entertaining, like I say, pleasing to the eye. She hit Gemma. I mean, fair play to Gemma. She has got a chin because she landed some huge shots, some really big left hooks, and Gemma took them well. And it was a good fight. It was a shame it was only 4 rounds. Would have liked to have seen 6. But hopefully Shannon can get out quite soon again.
Yeah, but that's what I mean by saying it would be nice to see a result and get a knockdown from those shots because it felt like it was like there,
Yeah, I think if it would have went up to 6, there's definitely a possibility. I think it's so tough in just like 8 minutes to be able to get that because Gemma is tough. She's good at what she does in that aspect of, similar to Bec Connolly in the sense of she's happy to take on these prospects and she doesn't make it easy for them at all. And to be fair to Gemma, especially rounds 3 and 4, she got into a stride a little bit more and was thrown a little bit more back. But Shannon's just very good. You wouldn't think it's only her second fight. She looked quite above that, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, her as well.
Yeah. So she is one that anytime she fights, I'll really look forward to that because, like I say, she is great to watch and very entertaining. Someone else who was out straight after, which again I wasn't expecting. So there I am running backstage, and then I'm running back. Got my steps in that day. Ebonie Jones, Bec Connolly.
Yeah.
I've got mixed opinions on this for many reasons, but I'm going to let you go first.
Well, you know, Ebonie obviously clearly won every round.
Yeah.
And looked good. And I feel like for Ebonie, it was the fight to come back on, because she was so disappointed for getting a draw last time. Although I felt she won that fight.
Yeah. It was harsh.
Yeah. And she was disappointed. And so I feel like she needed to come back and have a win to build a confidence back up, which is great. She's done that. It's just you interviewed Bec afterwards, because there's a lot of people on social media calling obviously for Bec to stop fighting because they feel like she's losing so much, taking a lot of punishment. And I'm glad you asked that question, because although she doesn't want to hear it because she loves fighting, wants to keep fighting, there is a question about safety. However, she is adamant she hasn't been hurt in any of these fights particularly, and and she keeps getting allowed to fight. So I don't know, what do you think?
It's a tough one. I felt a little bit bad. Not that I asked the question because I wanted to ask it. I think the way I asked it wasn't the best approach. I think I kind of just said it, and it wasn't the best way I should have asked it, really, because I felt a little bit bad. But I'm glad I asked it. Her response obviously was she's got 2 years left on a contract and she wants 6 fights a year. That is 12 fights. Do you know what I find funny? I was thinking about this on the drive home. She's a journeywoman, but no one kind of classes her as a journeywoman. Like, we do, but we don't say it. And I feel like, especially UK boxing, we all have such a soft spot for Bec Connolly. Yeah. Now, what is she now? What's her record? Is it like 13-3 or something like that? There are fighters out there who have got 50 losses and 2 wins. Yeah. No one's calling them to stop.
That is true.
I think it's because also I am one that sometimes I feel a bit uncomfortable watching Bec Connolly, but it's because I like her as a person.
Mm.
And I think everyone's the same. I think everyone has that soft spot for her, that we don't want to see her get hurt. We don't want to see her take punishment. So we want her to stop boxing. But actually, what she's doing is not different than every other journeywoman out there. Just the fact that we just don't have a lot of journeywomen who are British, and she's been on the scene a long time. If she wants to continue fighting and it's safe and she's happy and healthy, then of course. So it's one. If she announced that she's never going to fight again, I wouldn't be upset. Not because I don't like her, but it's one of them, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, but with Ebonie Jones's performance, I thought she made loads of improvements, which is great to see, because obviously that's only her 3rd fight. I still think she's very guilty of smothering her work, though. Very guilty. I think every single round don't get me wrong, she was hitting Bec very clean. And again, Bec's got a chin on her and took them all. But there was just times that I thought Ebonie rushed in. She maybe could have used the jab, being a bit more patient. She definitely was moving in and out of footwork, seeing better. But I think at times it's still a little bit erratic, where she's just pouncing in and then she's getting held and clutched onto. And so that's something I think obviously she can continue to work on, I'm sure. But it was nice to see her back to winning ways.
Definitely. And I completely agree with you, because the first couple of, like you say, she rushes it. She kind of rushes in, which in some ways is quite exciting for us to see her sort of rushing in. But it then means, like you say, she has got the potential to get caught, grabbed, whatever on the inside.
That's the problem, yeah. And then, again, I think there would have been an opportunity to possibly stop Bec, maybe not knock her down, but Bec is guilty of absorbing a lot of punches where the referee will happily stop it. But that didn't tend to happen, because Ebonie would land 1 or 2 fantastic, very clean shots. And then she just, like I say, smothered the work, and then that was it. And then she'd have to go again. So again, it was 6 rounds. If you get into 8-10 rounds, she's exerting a lot of energy, I think, having to move in, and she's on the clutch, which takes a lot of energy. Then she's having to push out and restart. So I just think if she can work on that a little bit. But it was, like I say, it was great to see her back to winning ways. And again, she didn't get hurt, so hopefully she could be back out soon.
One more point I wanted to bring to Bec, actually, when I was thinking, is that I've heard rumours about how much she gets paid to be an opponent for people, and it's not very much. And I don't think that's an acceptable level, really, for someone like Bec, for what she's bringing to the table. Yes, she's lost a lot of fights, but she's great at what she does. In as much as she comes in, they get the rounds with her. People, I feel like she should be getting paid a lot more for what she does, and especially if people think that she shouldn't be perhaps doing as many fights, if she hasn't got that many fights in her, and then people want to call for her to stop. Well, give her the money in these next few fights, because she deserves it.
Such a good point, because like she said to me, financially she needs to do 2 fights a month. What she gets paid is disgusting, nothing short of disgusting. She's her own worst enemy because she takes the fights, but also can she hold out and risk pushing for more money, and then they go, well, we'll just get someone else. So, it's one of them. It is disgusting what she's getting paid. And like you say, and I said to her as well, British boxing wouldn't be what it is without Bec Connolly. Actually, she's played a huge part in the development of current world champions, of current prospects. Without Bec Connolly, a lot of them wouldn't have had a fantastic learning fight. She's very underappreciated, and I think it's a shame. And when she does eventually retire, it'll be a case of everyone will miss her now she's gone type of thing. But you know what? She's lovely, and she comes out that fight with the biggest smile on her face, as if she's openly admits that she's the B team. She knows what her job is, and she does it very well. So fair play. But you make a good point with that. I'd love to see her get paid more. But Lauren Price. I'm going to just start on something because I feel like it's becoming like a running joke on our weekly roundup with boxing fans. So I feel like every week I'm going to stack it up. So I'll quickly say, Raven Chapman got the fight. It was too easy. She got the knockout in under a minute. Sky Nicholson, not good enough. She didn't get the knockout. Lauren Price fights someone with a winning record, was 5-2 at the time. This opponent come very game. She's no journeywoman, in my opinion. She's a solid fighter in her own right. Lauren Price done exactly what she needed to do. On the card, she won every round. And people said they were underwhelmed. And I was like, but if they would have put her against a full-on journeywoman and Lauren would have knocked her out, then it's a mismatch. So I just don't get it. No one can do anything right. But what did you think on her performance?
Yeah, no, it was great. I really enjoyed the performance, actually. It was exactly what it needed to be. I mean, yes, she's a hugely decorated amateur gold medalist, but this is still a pro debut. And she did great. I mean, I love her combinations and her speed. The way when she lets her hands fly on the inside. I mean, it does remind me, actually, of Katie Taylor when she lets her hands go. And I could just see that, and I can just see how great she's going to be in the pros. It's just going to get better. When she gets the confidence up, because I felt like she grew in confidence. One of the rounds, she just was letting those hands fly, and I thought, this is great, definitely.
Yeah, I loved it. You know what? It was one of the more enjoyable debuts because it wasn't a walkover. Lauren had to work hard for every single round, and you saw her grow into every round. I gave her opponent the third round, I believe, and every other round I gave to Lauren, but it wasn't a pushover. It wasn't easy. And I think Lauren ticked loads of boxes in that fight because it was a tough debut. I thoroughly enjoyed, as a fan, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd rather see them type of debuts than some of the ones that we see, basically. And for me, like, her hand speed, like you say, is incredible. She technically looks really good. Another one pleasing to the eye. And just give her time. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, she's a gold medalist, but like, it's a different game. The pros, like, bloody hell, like, give the girl some time to develop into her style. So wasn't underwhelming to me. I don't know what people were expecting at all.
One thing that, again, about social media and people having a moan about people is I noticed that they were giving it a bit of stick about the weight difference, saying that Lauren is middleweight, which is what she fought at in the Olympic gold medal at, and they were saying that her opponent was actually lighter than welterweight. She normally fights lighter, so therefore there's a big discrepancy, and it was almost like dangerous. But I think what people were failing to see is that Lauren herself has come out and said middleweight was not her natural weight. She fought at that weight in the Olympics, but she is more of a welterweight. And to be honest, she could even be lighter than that.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that she fought at that weight in the Olympics. So therefore, there isn't that dangerous sort of weight rise after weigh-in, because if that is her natural weight. So I just wanted to say that was a little bit unfair criticism, because I actually think that, like you said, it was a very good matchup and a very tough matchup for Lorraie.
They didn't look like a huge weight difference at all. You know, sometimes you do see it and you can tell it didn't look like a massive weight difference. Lauren can go lighter, I think, because she's actually not the tallest of people, especially when you compare to other welterweights. But again, like, just think people need to give her time to develop in that pro style, and she probably will drop down in weight, but it's nice that she's probably got an option of 4 weight categories that she could go into, which is perfect. So start at welterweight. If she feels like she can go down a little bit, but you know, she's done it in the amateurs and an opportunity was there, she could always move up in the future. Like, it's a good position to be in, but it didn't look unfair weight wise at all. I didn't think. I can't pronounce her opponent's name. I'm not going to try, but I'd like to see her again, actually, at her natural weight, because I enjoyed watching her. And but even in welterweight, I think she would cause some trouble for some other British welterweights.
Yeah.
So I liked her, and like I say, that was a great debut in my opinion, but clearly not for everyone. But what can you do? So obviously that was the London fights. A great show overall. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. And then we had more fights, obviously, across the pond.
Yes.
What did you think of this one?
Well, this one, I didn't see at the time. I saw the pictures and then I've had to go back and watch it. Again, time differences. But yeah, completely one-sided, broke her opponent's nose. It looked some nasty images going around. When I woke up, I was like, wow, that is a broken nose.
I didn't know if it was from a headbutt at first, but
yeah, no, didn't look like it. I mean, you can sometimes tell when they're coming close, but looked like, yeah, literally one-sided, because it became a bloodbath, didn't it? Second round, it was just everywhere.
Well, she knocked her opponent, so she knocked Fernandez down in round 1. And then I think straight away you just knew, didn't you? I mean, obviously we already knew the result because time difference. I saw that clip, but you just knew. But I didn't know what round that happened in. And then obviously I think in the second round she'd bust her nose. But I think was it the third round I think it was an uppercut that done it in the end. That's what I could gather from it, I think. But it was just squashed, wasn't it? It was just
yeah, poor girl.
But now I'm not saying I agree with what I'm about to say, but I was just thinking when I watched it. So I know she's broke her nose, there's blood everywhere, but it's boxing.
Yeah.
I wondered if that was a male fight, would it have been stopped by the doctors? Because we have seen plenty of broken noses in boxing, because that's just, in a way, the nature of the job, I suppose. So I was just wondering, you know, would it have happened if it was against, you know, it was a male fight and a male fighter had broke his nose? And yeah, of course there's blood, but blood comes from everywhere during boxing. So I wondered if it would have been stopped by the doctors so soon.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, the doctor looked at it a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah.
So first he didn't sort of call off straight away.
It could be an issue of, like, she might not have been able to breathe or something. I don't know what the issue was. I was just wondering, because I know the commentators were like, oh, there's lots of blood, they need to call. And I thought it can't just be a case of because there's lots of blood, because we see lots of blood in lots of fights. That's
as long as it wasn't in her eyes, and it's not an issue.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't, like I said, I couldn't work out whether it was like, you know, obviously if there's an issue and she cannot breathe, then that's slightly different, because you can't then get her to fight for the next like 6 rounds, just trying to breathe in and out of her mouth. That's no good. But I didn't know whether if it was just because there was a lot of blood at the time, and I was like, but
sometimes if they think, well, it's quite one-sided,
yeah,
it's not going anywhere, so maybe it's a good idea with this kind of damage to call it time. I don't know.
So yeah, I was just something I thought of, but I wasn't upset that the fight was stopped. Like I say, it was so one-sided, it becomes uncomfortable anyway. So, so that was for the WBA Super Bantam.
Yeah.
Obviously that's Ellie Scotney's weight, and Ellie Scotney is eyeing up a world title.
Yeah.
I would like to see Ellie Scottney first fight for the EBU European against Mary Romero. I would
Yeah,
like that fight. Desperately want that fight. I think that'd be really good.
that'd be a good fight, definitely.
And I think that's a nice step up.
Yeah, and we've already discussed this. We're both fans of these step-up fights rather than going straight to world title. Collect a few belts on the way through. Why not? Go
Do
straight.
it. That's it. Do it. And Mary Romero's good. She beat Amy Timlin. She's a tough test. Obviously, she fought Checky, who we're not. Well, I'm not a fan of her anymore. But, and Mary Romero is very tough. She's strong. She's awkward. She likes to rough people up. I think that's a great learning fight to prove and make a statement that you're ready for a world title.
I totally agree. However, no Matchroom. It will be for a world title next time. I'm pretty sure.
I imagine so.
But it's knowing who, because it sounds like they're lining up Mayerlin Rivas. But then after this fight, will there be another fight in between for Ellie? Or, I mean, there's obviously Shanika Johnson in Australia who's got the IBF that way. Could that be well? So there are a few options for her.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Shanika Johnson one, I think, is probably the highest opportunity because I know they're going to do a show in September in Australia. So, I mean, I think that'd be if Ellie is going for a world title next, or she is going to skip European, for instance, I'd love that to be the fight because it's a great opportunity for her to go to Australia. You're growing your fan base. It's a new experience. So that's something I would like to see, definitely, if she is going to skip European.
Yeah, I think that'd be my choice as well.
Yeah, definitely. Another fight that took place.
Yeah.
Very one-sided.
Yeah, definitely. You could see the different levels completely. You could see Yokasta put on a performance. You could see how great a boxer she was. She had great distance. She was very effective, very accurate. Yeah, just totally one-sided the whole way through. But it was a nice showcase fight because obviously this is the first time she's come to America. She's on DAZN, on Golden Boy. So it was almost like a fight to showcase what she's about to a different public who might not have heard of her before.
That's completely true. And she did put on a very clinical performance. Again, it was, even though it was very one-sided, she made it enjoyable to watch. I wasn't bored watching it because sometimes when it's that one-sided, I get a little bit fed up. But, I did enjoy it. Now, obviously, record-wise, her opponent was only is now 5-3. So she was 5-2 at the time compared to her who was 25-2. So fight experience-wise, you were asking for a lot, I suppose. But I enjoyed that fight. And obviously they then asked about the Sinisa Estrada fight.
Yes. That's going to
be WBA.
I'd love that fight.
There's also Tiny Tina from Germany, I think. I think she's from Germany, who holds the WBC.
And she's already beaten Yokasta, hasn't she? Or am I thinking?
I believe so. But there's another option as well to try and unify. So there's a couple, but I love watching Estrada fight. She is so entertaining. I don't care if she fights out. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I'd love to see, someone like Sinisa Estrada go out and try and unify. So that could be a potential fight down the road. Probably quite an easy one to make as well, you'd imagine.
Yeah. Considering they're both Golden Boy now.
Yeah. So it feels like the path is there for that fight to be made. So that might get announced sometime soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
A fight that was announced, Amanda Serrano. So obviously she did hint that she was fighting in August. It is going to be the 6th of August back in Madison Square Garden.
Yes. And again, it's going to be a great night. It will be a big night because obviously with Jake Paul, headlining it. And as we know, he's a huge pull, whatever people think of him. So it's going to be a huge night for Amanda as well because there'll be so many people tuning in. And we know that Jake will give her the money as well. So, it's a big win for her because it's a Madison Square Garden's big night, big money, and hopefully a unification fight.
Well, that's it. So she is currently the WBC, WBO, and IBO featherweight champion. I don't know who she's fighting yet. It's not being announced. I know they've put it out as they are both headlines. So obviously Amanda and Jake Paul, but you imagine Jake Paul will be like the main headline. Don't know who he's fighting, but like you say, I don't even care. I never used to like Jake Paul. Love him now. Huge fan. Want him to beat everyone. Want him to become a world champion. I absolutely love what he's doing for the sport. I'm not as bothered in the ring what he does compared to out the ring, but what he is doing. Listen, I'm his biggest fan now. So yeah, it'll be a great night. And he pays his fighters so well. The promoters need to take a bit of a note here from, and what is he, like 25 or something, incredibly young. So,
and he's just so sort of, you know, gets it and just wants to make sure everybody has their fair share. It's just so refreshing to see, really.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Now, there was a couple of comments on Twitter of people saying, you know, like Amanda's running from the rematch. And obviously I said to you today, didn't I, that there's two sides to every story. So when Eddie Hearn comes out and says Amanda Serrano needs to boost her confidence, I know I'm an Amanda Serrano fan, but come on, no one can believe that. Did Amanda Serrano look short of confidence against Katie Taylor in that fight? And it was split decision. Amanda thought she won. Like, there's no short of confidence from either of them, from Katie or Amanda. There's two sides to every story. I'm sure there's definitely a story behind why that fight isn't being made in September. And it's not down to either Amanda Serrano or Katie Taylor. Because I'm sure if it was down to them, they'd fight next week.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And, you know, what's she going to do? Is she going to vacate all them titles in her natural weight and then still possibly not get that fight in September? Because someone put on Twitter, well, they've made the fight once, so it'll be easy to make a second time. It's more complicated this time round. The fight's even bigger this time round. More money, more problems. So they were running out of time, I think, to make this fight in September anyway. I think it was a bit of a push to make it for many reasons. So would she vacate 3 world titles in her natural weight division and then still possibly not fight in September? That'd make no sense.
No. Because that's it. She's got her own goals in her own weight class. You know, she's got her own path that she's already on that path. Got taken away to fight Katie, so you can understand how she still wants to become undisputed in her weight class. You know, it's understandable.
Yeah, 100%. And if it was the case, if she wanted to boost the confidence, I don't think she would be fighting a featherweight to boost the confidence for a lightweight fight against Katie Taylor. So none of that makes sense. You know, I'm sure it's been many reasons on both parties why the fight's not being made, but I highly doubt it's down to either fighter. Yeah. But great to see Amanda's back out in August. Katie will be back out in September. And then I suppose we'll hear after that what the plans are, whether the rematch will get made.
Yeah. Let's hope it happens. Like you said, there's a fear that it might never happen. So let's hope. You know, I don't mind how many fights there happen between, as long as it happens at some stage, hopefully next year, at the latest. I wouldn't want to see it roll over to another year. But if it can happen this year, then great.
Yeah, I think it needs to, realistically. I don't think now it'll happen this year. I think obviously Amanda will defend her titles. Let's presume she wins. There could then be a chance of, could she try and become undisputed in featherweight, and then the following year obviously look obviously to become two-weight undisputed world champion and match Clarissa Shields in that department. But we'll see. I'm more 50-50 on that rematch now than I was 100% confident after New York, but now I'm not too sure. Another fight's not being announced, obviously. Well, the dates and things haven't been announced officially, but they are nothing short of entertaining, these two, are they?
Yeah, that's great. I did a whole video on them. Because it's just, like you say, their social media back and forth is it's gold.
Yeah. It doesn't get boring. That's what I love, because in some degrees it's kind of repetitive because there's only so much trash talk you can do, but it just still gets funnier.
Yeah.
That's what I love. And, you know, the latest one I saw was Mikaela Mayer posting a video of Alycia Baumgardner in one of her past fights of her. I don't know if it was the fight that Alycia got beaten. I only quickly glanced at it, but Alycia was taking a couple of shots, and obviously Mikaela Mayer posts that. Alycia talks about Mayer's amateur style. Yeah. And then obviously Mayer comes back and is like, well, you done nothing in the amateur, which I do love.
And that article that Fight Post wrote, that sparked a lot, because she says she's going to stop Alycia, and Alycia comes back going, yeah, that's funny, you're never going to stop me. That starts another load of back and forth.
Could Mikaela Mayer stop Alycia Baumgardner? Does she have that power?
Do you know what? I wouldn't rule it out. You know, on paper, I'd probably say it's more likely to go to points. However, you can't rule it out. You know, these are elite fighters for the top of the division. You know, we've already seen Alycia can do it, and I just think, well, Mayer's right up there too. You know, she's getting better with every fight. You know, we have seen she can take a punch. She can, you know, she's tough on the inside. So yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't rule it out.
And I think we've not seen Alycia Baumgardner. Well, I haven't in recent times tested how well does she absorb power punches, because in her last 2 fights we've not seen it. Whereas we've seen that Mayer can absorb some heavy punches. We saw that against Hamadouche. And Mayer is strong, and she likes, you know, she goes to the body quite well. So, you know, they could, because it's not, I think everyone will talk about Baumgardner's power and that big right hand. And I think people will forget that actually Mayer, without a doubt, holds power. If she was to stop Baumgardner, I think it would be with body shots, so overhead shots, whereas it'd be vice versa for Baumgardner, in my opinion. But it's one of them. I'm not going to put a bet on that one, because I wouldn't like, it could just go either fighter. It could go the distance. It could be a stoppage. I wouldn't. I literally can't call that at the minute.
Yeah, it's literally anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised any result.
And that's what makes it so entertaining. And like you said before we started filming, was how good is fight week going to be?
Yes. Oh, it's going to be the best. Yeah.
I just can't wait.
I have to have a sit down head to head. You're going to have to do all of that, because that is going to be amazing.
Security will be holding them both back at the weigh-in. Oh, I can't wait. I can see it all now. Another slightly different back and forth, and I found this one really interesting, was Hannah Rankin, Tasha Jonas on Twitter. I don't know if you saw any of it.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. Quite a nice back and forth for back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of respect for each other. There's no denying that. What I found really interesting was the promotion side of it, because obviously Tasha Jonas is like, you know, Hannah, you've had your homecoming. I want mine, as I want her to have it, obviously, in Liverpool. So I was like, yes, let's do it. And she was like, right, let's get it going. And then Hannah comes back and goes, well, I think that's down to Sky Sports and Ben Shalom. So straight away, Hannah is presuming that this fight will be on Sky Sports, as I think everyone was presuming. But then Dennis Hobson Promotions come in and kind of was a bit like, well, why don't we make it on Fight Zone? And I was like, we both always say it, like, I like Fight Zone. They've got a place in boxing, but there's on no planet they can compete with Sky Sports. I'm really sorry, they can't.
No.
So I didn't quite get that, because I don't think Hannah was expecting it. And then Tasha Jonas quite rightly come out and was like, I don't think you can afford me. Fair play. I quite like that. I was like, yeah, fair enough. So if there are issues, I feel like it's down to Fight Zone and Dennis Hobson Promotions if there's any issues at the minute, which I think is a bit of a shame.
Because obviously Hannah just came out and was like, yeah, I'm happy with the day. I'm happy with it being Liverpool, happy being Sky Sports. She was like,
Hannah's happy with anything as long as she gets in the ring. That's what's amazing about Hannah Rankin, isn't it? As long as she's fighting, she doesn't care, does she?
Yeah, anywhere, anytime, any country.
She'll do it.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
And then what I loved was Dennis Hobson Promotions comes in and Tasha was like, oh, me and Hannah have sorted it. And it's like, they've just skipped out the bullshit there, haven't they? Missed the middleman and was like, yeah, we're going to sort it. So from what I hear, the fight is looking to be made in September time.
Okay.
With obviously Liverpool being the front runner. However, I mean, obviously I want it in Liverpool, and Tasha does deserve her homecoming. I'd love to see that, and she's a big seller, especially in the city, so that would be great. It would be quite nice though for it to be on the same card as Marshall and Shields, which won't be in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So
I think, though, they probably would want it separate because they're both sellers. Yes, I know that Tasha Jonas and Hannah Rankin aren't Clarissa Shields and Marshall, but in terms of a British showdown, there isn't a bigger British showdown at the moment. So I feel like that would sell on its own almost. I mean,
do you think it would headline?
If it's Liverpool, possibly.
I don't.
Maybe.
I would love it to, and it would be worthy of it, but I don't think it would headline.
Yeah, I mean,
Tasha's a good seller. I don't think she's a sell-out fighter. Not just because it's her pro career is not being consistent.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the issue at times with her being a huge seller. Is she's definitely a big seller compared to a lot, but I don't know, would they sell out the M&S Arena? I don't know.
I mean, Hannah headlined in Scotland. I know it's a smaller show, but you know that they made a success of that. So there is a way around. However, yeah, I'd probably see it as a sort of a co-main or a male fight. But I still think because it's still a big sell as a strong undercard, if any, you know, then I think they'd want it separate for that reason, you know, as well. Because if they put all the good ones on the one card, you know, I think they like to spread it out a bit. So I just can't see them doing that because I think they'll say, well, we can do some numbers on this elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. And it would probably be better for women's boxing if you had, I mean, if the shows ran consecutively or just a couple of weeks break in between. And obviously you're riding on that momentum and you've got Shields, Marshall first. And in a couple of weeks, we've got the Jonas Rankin fight. I mean, I'd love that fight to headline. I don't think it will.
Yeah.
But I don't know saying that. I don't know. I mean, yeah, like I say, I would love to. I think the issue, Hannah, if you're not a boxing fan, Hannah's not massively like promoted and broadcasted. She is in Scotland, but not necessarily within England, I don't think. And a lot of her big fights, obviously she had that big fight with Clarissa Shields, but it was in America because she's fought kind of all over the place.
Yeah, no,
So I think that could be the only slight issue with that headline.
It could only, if it was going to headline, which I agree, I'm not sure I would, but if it was going to, Liverpool would be the only option based on Natasha.
Yeah. 100%. And it would need a strong undercard. But again, like the good thing about Liverpool is there's tons of fighters. Not loads of female fighters, but enough, but tons of actual just fighters in general that actually you could stack the card. And you see, I know one of the Matchroom shows, I think 80% of that card were Liverpool fighters, and it does sell out. Liverpool fighters tend to be great sellers, obviously, within the city, as you can imagine. So if it had a strong undercard of a lot of Scousers, then I think possibly then that could bump it up for them to headline. But yeah, it's a good point why it shouldn't be on the same card. Now I agree with you.
I mean, obviously, from a fan's point of view, get them all on the same card. I'd love that, but I just think I could thinking, spread out a bit. But
yeah. Now, a couple of people, just really quick, have mentioned that they want to see the Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall as an all-female card. Would you?
I mean, yeah, I'm always up for that because I prefer watching the female boxing. From my point of view. But I just think we have to be very careful just doing it. It's just females. It's just males. If everybody, you know, wants it to be just boxing, then we shouldn't go, right, we just have all females or just all males. Right? It should be just a mixture of what works, what mix, regardless of gender. I mean, in these early days, while it's still growing, it can be great to do the all-female cards because you are showcasing sport. But yeah, I think you're alienating some of the fans that are just male boxing fans, but that you can convert because they'll male boxing fans realise how great the women are and stay for the women.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong. People actually call out for all female cards now, and I think it's the wrong time to do it. When women's boxing is completely equal and 50-50, then you've got more of an opportunity to do it because you've got the fans. But it makes no sense at the minute doing it now when you're trying to grow a fan base. Like you say, you're just going to alienate them. And equality is not by putting an all-female card on. That's the opposite, because then it's like the big discussion with like feminism, you just push so hard the other way, and actually you don't want equality. you want to just have everything. So for me, lots of people have put it out, and I was like, I don't want to see an all-female card. Not because I don't want to see, I'd love to see 10 female fights, but it, in my opinion, just completely defeats the object then. I'd like a 50-50 card. I can't wait for that to happen. Like, Sky last night, 3 female fights out of 9. That's great. But I can't wait till it's 4 or 5 out of 9 or 10.
Perfect. It doesn't need to be, like you said, all female. It just needs to be equal.
Yeah. That's it. Do we have any fights coming up next week? Is it a week off? I can't remember.
Oh my gosh, there's always something on. Melissa Odessa Parker's fighting.
Yeah, good to see her back in the ring.
She's one of these that's not that well known, who's absolutely amazing and such a great fighter to watch. She's so exciting.
Yeah, nice to see her back in the ring. Actually, really nice. And the week after is Jessica McCaskill, isn't it, defending her undisputed? So nice. So it won't be as busy next week then, but you don't know because you've still got Alycia Baumgardner and Mikaela May who might stir up some drama. So we'll see.
Or social media drama, I'm sure.
Right. Right. Been a pleasure as always. And then we'll see what the coming week brings for us all.
Definitely. Can't wait.